Hello and welcome to the Try Talking Sport podcast, hosted by me, Joanne Murphy. Whether you are an athlete, adventurer, endurance enthusiast, or simply have an interest in sport, you've come to the right place for inspiration, encouragement, motivation, and a little bit of entertainment. I hope you all had a lovely Easter and long weekend. If you've been following my activities on social, you will have seen I completed the Galway cycle at the weekend for Rosabel's Rooms. The challenge was to complete 400k in 4 days, and I'm delighted and a little bit proud of myself that I completed the challenge in 3 days and managed to do it all within my 5k. The final distance covered was 405 kilometres with 2,500 metres of climbing, and I would say 50% of it was into the wind. Friday and Sunday were the toughest days in the saddle. Despite the sunshine, the wind was brutal. We had to choose between getting the legs hammered by the hills or facing headwinds on the flats. In the end, we did a mix of both. Karen Cassidy, my fellow Galway Babes teammate, joined me for the 400k challenge, and we also had support on the road from fellow Galway Tri Club members Stephanie Carr and Eve Daly, along with Hup Hup's Emma Porter, who each clocked up some great miles and made the long days in the saddle lots of fun. They joined us at various times over the course of the weekend. Mammy Murphy was chief supporter and sandwich maker. She was even in Salthill with my sister Michelle on Saturday with the supporter flags. The locals didn't know what was going on, with all the cheering and whooping going on as we stopped for the morning coffee. Most importantly, we have raised over €1,600 for Rosabel's Rooms, which is simply incredible. I had set a target of €500 to raise and have been blown away by the support from far and wide. So thank you to everyone who sent a message or a donation. The support has been simply amazing. We have a raffle running on the donation page at the moment. So for €10, you can enter the draw up to this coming Sunday, the 14th of April, for some super prizes. Check out the details on the website, www.trytalkingsport.com. I have to say, I'm still enjoying my guilt-free Easter eggs, especially after getting on the turbo on Bank Holiday Monday night for our weekly Zwift spin with Team RWB and Oliver Harkin. I clocked up another 30k. My legs really don't like me very much at the moment, but I'll be back in the saddle again by the end of this week, and I can't wait until we can all adventure outside of our 5k from next week. We had great fun on the Tri commute at the end of March with co-host Helen Murray of the Inside Tri Show and very special guest Nikki Bartlett. The crack was mighty and the banter was flowing over breakfast. Stay tuned for details of the next episode, which takes place on Friday the 23rd of April at 7:30am. We have another fabulous Friday morning show lined up. Speaking of shows, I was delighted to host the Swim Ireland podcast coaching series, where I chatted with some of the Swim Ireland coaching team who are coaching the finest aquatic stars in Ireland in an Olympic and Paralympic year. The first episode was released last week and you can find it on the Swim Ireland social pages. Now to this episode of the Try Talking Sport podcast. I was thrilled to chat with Heather Foley, who has competed at international level in both triathlon and cycling, representing Northern Ireland in triathlon at the Commonwealth Games in 2006 and in cycling in 2010 on the track and on the road. Heather won the National Road Racing Cycling Championships in 2009 and broke both the national 10 and 25 mile TT records within a year of switching from triathlon to cycling. She finished fifth in the points race in the 2010 Commonwealth Games and competed at World Cup level on the track and raced for Ireland at UCI level races internationally. She has won multiple national titles in triathlon across all the distances and is a 5-time Joathlon national champion. At one stage, she was the national Joathlon champion, sprint Olympic and middle distance triathlon champion, all at the same time. Heather continued to race nationally in cycling whilst successfully competing at triathlon. She was part of the winning county team in Ross-na-Mon a few days after winning the middle distance championship at the Lost Sheep Triathlon in 2016. Married to Desi with almost 8-year-old twins, Grace and Oliver, Heather maximises her time to try and strike a healthy balance across all areas of her life in a busy household. By profession, she is a hospital pharmacist and has raced internationally whilst continuing to work and produced some of her best performances since the twins came along. Heather is not afraid to work and race hard, with some gutsy performances, lots of grit, determination, natural talent and a very strong work ethic. Her results in endurance sport speak for themselves. Enjoy the show. Heather Foley, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. We're recording this on Easter Sunday. What a glorious windy day it was.
How many Easter eggs have you had today, Heather Foley?
We're actually sharing one at the minute. There's about 8 in the house, but we're devouring half of Oliver's Kinder one and assembling what's in a Kinder one of Grace's. So yeah, we haven't gone too mad on them.
So if I was to ask you your favorite Easter egg, would it be a Kinder one? Because lots of people that I've spoken to now, and I've given them a choice of a Cadbury's, a mini eggs, or a Lindt bunny, what would be their favorite?
Oh, it'd definitely be a Lindt bunny. Yeah, I do like chocolate. I like green and blacks, and I do like the chocolate. Yeah, definitely. Dark chocolate's my favorite, probably.
We'll never have a problem fighting over chocolate because I can't stand dark chocolate. I've just realized.
No, I'm not really fussy.
I've just realized my voice sounds kind of funny. I don't think I've been talking that much over the past 3 days because I've been cycling so much. So I've just realized I sound really hoarse and probably totally dehydrated. But anyway, we will rock on. What I'd love to know, Heather, is a little bit about your background in sport. I never realized how much success you've had in sport.
Yeah, I suppose I was always into sport. Like as a child, like, we were always an outdoorsy family, but I mainly swam, I suppose, till I was sort of teenage years. And then hockey took over then, really, the school and club, because I like the whole, when you're that age, the whole team thing is just really good crack. And yeah, so I played that. And then when I went to university, like I always had a bike when I was little, and that was just, for mucking around on and that sort of stuff. But I suppose when I went to university in the UK, the guy beside me in the halls did triathlon, and that was how I actually got into triathlon. Really, it was kind of more a social thing. So I'd never had a racing bike before, and I had this like steel mountain bike at home, and so I joined that and got my first racing bike. Hadn't a clue. I think I got a bike, it was too big for me. Hadn't a clue what I was doing, and yeah, I just kind of enjoyed it. And then I got into with actually High Elbow then back at home. And they were just really friendly and encouraging and taught me a lot. And, when you don't know anything, and they just, got me started, I have to say. And it was Tommy Linton, and then Ian Lyle was coaching me at that stage. Then things started getting a bit more kind of serious as such. And about at the same time, there's a local cycling club, Maryland Wheelers, then in Lisburn. I got in with them too. And yeah, it was good fun. Like Saturdays and Sundays for me at that stage were going out your bike doing 3 and 4 hours and getting pushed home. And like I remember ringing my mum like 2 miles from home one day going, "Mom, could you come pick me up? I've nothing in my legs." It was just, they were great, a great bunch of lads and good banter, good coffee. And that was what you did. You came home and sat on the sofa the rest of the day, and, it was great. And I suppose like, I had a lot of injury then with the triathlon, but things got sort of a bit more serious as such. I was finishing my degree, and I ended up I couldn't get my pre-reg year done for pharmacy because I was away sort of traveling and stuff. So I had to take a break and do it then. I got the Commonwealths, was injured, and just really had to make that decision of like, what am I going to do here? And I think it was about meeting people. Tommy Evans was out at the Commonwealth Games, Davy McCann, and they were like, just ride your bike, and I was already racing as it was with Maryland. I would do the club races, I was doing races at the weekend. I enjoyed it and it made sense. So I went back, did my pre-reg year and put the head down, lived on a turbo, I'd say, for a year. And just got the records and stuff from the time trialing and got myself sort of established that way. So I kind of went into it not knowing what I was doing. I went away to Belgium to a race with the Irish team, hadn't a clue what I was doing. That was all Tommy Evans' fault again, just told me to go. And I went and met a great bunch of girls again. Siobhan Dervin and Julie O'Hagan. There's just a good bunch and with a good laugh as well. Like at that stage, a lot of people, it was like volunteer. People went out with teams and that sort of thing. So I have to say, I learned a lot and I learned quickly. And yeah, I suppose just cycling, and I suppose the track came along after that, and another Commonwealth Games. And I have to say, I really enjoyed the track. I'd love to have more time with the track, but I just felt by the time the Commonwealth Games came along that I'd had enough at that stage. And I've kind of always been this person that once you stop enjoying something, it's better to stop before you really don't like it. And I felt like, I'd always worked really from the moment I did my pre-reg. I'd always had a job. I'd use my holidays to go away and do the races and that sort of thing. So yeah, I'd sort of, right, this is this time to just take a break. And I suppose I met Desi, the twins were born then, and I got back into running just like really. I swam actually during my pregnancy because it was the only time I didn't feel sick. So that's how I got back into swimming. It's a bit mad, isn't it? Like I started doing a bit more running before I had the kids. I swam, and then after I had the kids, the only thing I had time to really do was to run a bit. And there wasn't really until a couple of years later that I started, trying to do a bit of swimming. I think I did the Newry triathlon or something like that. And it was really just a social thing again. It was just trying to get out and do something different. And it was something I could bring the kids to. We brought the kids along. They don't remember any of it, actually. We often ask them, we think, God, they're bound to remember this. They don't remember a thing. And they'd have come and had a day out, and, we would have got a picnic with us. And it was just a bit of crack. And then again, it just kind of snowballed again. I was really enjoying it. And the swimming, I really hadn't swum a lot, hadn't swum enough, I suppose. And I put the head down and joined Leander, actually. And again, they were just brilliant, I have to say. It was brilliant. Laura Wiley was swimming there as well. And the coaches, brilliant. And I suppose I think I would still live there. I'd still be swimming a wee bit, And I just had a really good time. I think my attitude was very different at that stage. Like, I had nothing to lose. I was there to have a good time. I was there to totally empty myself. I think I was a more determined person. And I knew I was never going to be as fit as the other girls I was racing, but I know I've got determination in bucket loads and I can really hurt myself. And that was just one thing I probably had to rely on an awful lot. And yeah, we just, I suppose, enjoyed it in the duathlons again. That was just another thing we just did, As the kids have got older, I suppose it's just become a bit harder again. You don't want to, they're not up to be taken away for the weekend. It's not fair on them. So I'm back doing a bit more running in the Swift racing and that sort of stuff. And with COVID and everything, it's died down a bit anyway. So it just shows you, like, life just goes in phases, and you have to work with what you've got. And again, as long as I enjoy it, I'll keep doing it. But I don't see the point in doing something if you don't enjoy it. And that's my whole kind of theory. And I've never trained a lot of hours, especially after the kids were born. I try to keep things really specific, and I don't really have any waist training. I don't do an awful lot of miles, which is probably, I lack that a wee bit, but I'm not prepared to sacrifice that. I want to be with the kids as well. There'll be a time when they don't want to speak to me, probably. So I'm going to take all the advantage of it I can at the minute when they do want to hang out with me. So yeah, that's where we kind of are at the minute,
It's fantastic listening to you, bringing us through that journey, but you've had some fantastic results. I mean, at one stage you were the national duathlon champion, the middle distance champion, the sprint and the Olympic distance champion in the country.
Yeah, I sort of have to I don't really realise you've done that. It's only when you sort of look back. And I don't go into a race wanting to win. I think it's the cycling mentality. The cycling, you go in and you race hard. You could be in a break all day and get caught at the end and you're wiped and you've got nothing. And I'm not afraid to lose. I'm just that sort of person. I'll go into a race. I don't care. If I've crossed that line and I've given absolutely everything and I finished 10th or last, I don't really care. Like, one of the best races I've had, I did a 10 miler in Bundoran and I took about 3 minutes off my time. I was 5th, didn't even place. I was so tired. My mother-in-law had to actually take my running top off me. But I remember getting to 5 miles and going, oh my goodness, how am I going to continue? But that was just, it was just pure determination and hurting myself that I got through that race. And that's the things you remember. Like, even with I think the members, the national champs, the sprint champs at Derry, like, that was another race. I just gave everything that day, and I didn't expect to win, and to win was just an absolute bonus, So, yeah, it's only when you look back at what you've done, really, now,
When did you kind of start showing promise as a great athlete, not a good athlete, a great athlete? Were you very strong from the start when you took up triathlon because of your swimming background, or did you have to work to get good?
I wouldn't call myself great at all. Like, I look at all these people and they've been in the Olympics, and I wouldn't put myself in that at all. I'm pleased with what I've done. And, I'm very proud of my national jersey in cycling. That's one thing I'm very, I'm proud to have it and proud to wear the stripes. But I suppose, like, mum and dad always encouraged us with sport, but they also told us to, you just go about it. You just get on with it. You don't parade or anything. It's just about enjoying it. And again, that's what I said. Like, as long as I enjoy things, I'll keep doing it. But I suppose, I don't know, like, I suppose I've never really been on a racing bike until I was at university, and I've always felt quite comfortable on a bike. I suppose that's what I'd say. And out of the three things, it's the one thing that came quite, not easily, but I enjoyed working hard at it, and I loved going to the races. I didn't mind taking a kicking. And even now, like, I still pre-COVID would go out here in the club races and just give it my all. And it's just one of those things that I find came a bit easier, and maybe didn't have the confidence in myself. I think that's one of my regrets, is that I didn't believe in myself a bit more. Like, I enjoyed the track, and I would have liked to have more time in the track, because that's the one place where I didn't feel as nervous as other places, and I enjoyed it, and I got a real buzz from it. And I really think for kids coming up again, as I say, it'd just be so wonderful to see kids on a track. Like, even when you're out in Holland and you see like 30, 40 kids going around this track, and they're all listening to what they're told to do, and it's a safe environment, and I just think that's class. Like, I just love that in Ireland or somewhere. Like, having the greenways is super, but it's just having that safe environment. But it's it's probably about belief really in yourself. And after I had the kids, I maybe started to believe in myself a wee bit more, and especially with getting back into the swimming. I was only a year back in the swimming with Leander, and I started seeing improvements. And I missed out in Commonwealth Games, and that was kind of hard, to be honest with you. I was probably going better after I had the kids than I was before. My running was better, my cycling was better, the swimming was on the way up, and that was kind of a big disappointment for me. But like anything else, like, things happen for a reason, and you just get on with it. That's the way it is. I still got stuck in the duathlon, and nothing was wasted. I still had a good year nationally, and no regrets. You just keep on going.
5 national duathlon titles. Yeah,
I enjoy the duathlon. Duathlons are really hard. Like, they're very different from triathlon. Like, and I also think they're a really good thing for people to do, because not everybody is accessible to a swimming pool. Like, especially, I remember after I had the kids, I didn't have time to go to the pool, but you can swim, and you can run, and you can get on a turbo trainer. So a duathlon is a really good way, I think, of getting fit and doing it at your own level. And there's so many of them about these days, and there tend to be, the shorter distances, or all different sorts of distances. So I sort of feel people are a bit afraid of them, because you've got that run first, and it tends to go off so hard. But I actually think if more people did them, they'd learn to like them a bit more. People are probably shouting at the screen going, "Is she stupid?" But I just think they're a great way of getting a bit of training in as well. Like, good hard sessions, swim, a run on a bike, and, a bit of social, afterwards. I think it's a great, like, I would still like to really do the duathlons. I don't really have the time to swim now with the kids and stuff, but I definitely wouldn't really like doing another duathlon. Every year I say, that's it, I'm done. And Desi goes, what about another one? I'm like, nope, done, can't do that again. It's past it, I'm over the hill. And then you start running again and stuff, and you think, oh, I might do it, but Oh, we'll see. Not sure.
I suppose actually now that you talk about it, lots of people haven't had access to pools or to open water. Some of us have been very lucky to live by the sea, but we're not really training. We're kind of getting in and we're doing bits and pieces, and some are training, that's fair enough. But the majority of people won't have had access to pools. So a duathlon is a really good way to get back to fitness. We can all run. 90% of us will have turbos. We've gone daft on Zwift or some other virtual world of training. Triathlon Ireland have a new, is it a run ride program for the next 5 or 6 weeks? They're going to train people up to complete a duathlon. I think it's on the 15th and 16th of May. So that's definitely something for people to look into, and it's free as well. Yeah, I remember the last duathlon I did was Claren Bridge in 2017, which was the National Duathlon Championships, which you won that year as well. And it was, it was tough.
I'd say it's a hard course, to be honest. Every duathlon I've done, it's been hard in different ways. There was one, was at Mondello, and it was lashing rain, and they've all been really different. And then the one in Sligo again was just, I hadn't actually done much running coming up to it. And I remember feeling quite nervous about that one, but they've all been different. But they're all just hard, aren't they? Like, because at the end of the day, if you're not finding it hard, you're doing something wrong, aren't you? Like, you've got to go and get, like, I always remember watching when I was pregnant, we used to go down to Sportsman. So Desi would have been doing them in Dundalk. And it was the first time I'd really been a spectator, and I did find it really hard to watch people do a race. And I had this massive bump, and I was like, oh, I want a race. But I remember watching Paul Carroll coming up this climb, and like, he was just working so hard, like, such respect. Like, he had such a good result in Sligo, like, but he was just at his limit. And like, that's sport, isn't it? And that's duathlon. Like, you give it your all, and you cross the line and you think, right, done my best. There's nothing more I could have done. I'm away home. I'm satisfied, and that's it. And like, if you had a bad day, like we did like a time trials day. Just went out, the two of us, and did a 10K. And I didn't do a great time today, but to be quite honest, I did as best as I could, and that's all I could have done. And I think that's one thing people could be doing at the moment. Just find a loop. We just have a loop and we go round and round. It's a good way just to keep yourself motivated. Keep that sharpness in as well. And the Zwift races, I find, have been good just because they're handy, and it gives you that really good kind of session as well. So I think duathlons could take off, like, when things start opening up a wee bit, whenever that is. But I know they're not for everybody, but I would say to people, give it a go. You never know, you might like it,
Heather Foley challenges all of our listeners to give a duathlon a go before the end of 2021. I meant to ask you, how did you meet Desi?
Desi and I actually met at a race, would you believe? I was actually meant to be away abroad at a race, and then I couldn't go. Something happened at work and I couldn't go. I had to do it online, I think. I can't remember. Someone said, oh, there's a race actually in the dock. I was trying to find a stage race. And so they put me in touch with Desi or something like that, or someone from the team. And I ended up there. Desi spent all week trying to get out of the race because he had a sore knee. So we ended up in this same team in the dock. I forgot what the race was even called. It's not really bad. It's like a 3-day kind of, and it was working as a team. So it wasn't like an individual thing. And I remember coming home going, oh, yeah, I quite like him. And, and then I think he texted on the Monday after it was all over, and I was like, oh, it's just not interested. Like, and then so it was actually one of the fellas from Maryland Wheelers then went, are you joking? Have you not replied to him yet? And I went, no, I haven't replied. You've kept him waiting all day. And I went, yeah. And he says, you better reply, So I think I actually kept him waiting for an hour on our first date because I had a session to do at the Sports Institute. I think I arrived looking like I hadn't had a shower, and the sweat was still dripping off me. So Desi and I actually met at a cycling race, and he was living in Uri at the time, and I was up in Hillsborough. So we moved down to Sligo about 4 years ago, and that's where he's from. And that's been a different challenge, and I think it was good for us because we slowed down a wee bit. Like, I'd probably still be getting up and training in the morning, I think, swimming wise and stuff. And it made us kind of, it's a different lifestyle, I suppose. And the kids were getting up, and it's been really good for them. Like, we're close to the beach, and, it's it's definitely just made us reevaluate things and things like that,
So how do you prioritize your training? Does Desi get to go out as much as you do? Or are you like, well, actually now I'm the pro here these days. It's my turn.
Yeah,
go away and mind the kids.
Desi's like a bit of a sickener actually, because he runs twice a week and he went out and did a 33-minute 10K today. So that's quite sickening. You're like twice a week. But we just, I suppose we know each other's routine and we know what the kids are doing. And even when their activities are up and running, we kind of know what we're doing. And to be honest, we don't do an awful lot of hours. Like I tip in and out to work maybe Monday, Friday. It's 2 miles in, 2 miles out. Do a bit of stretching, straight and done. And I try to get through 3 runs in a week and 2 bikes. So that's kind of my schedule at the moment. And Desi's sort of, it's the same. Like we try to, like if one maybe child's at football, one will train and the other will be with the other one. You just find different ways of doing things. Or sometimes we actually take the kids out on the bikes and we run. Or if we're at, in the summertime, it was pre-COVID, the athletics club would have been down at Sligo Racecourse running. And it's really safe for the kids. So you can do like 800 and 1K efforts and the kids can do a bit with you. And you can still see them and, you get your training done that way. So you just find different ways of fitting things in. If they're at the swimming lesson, get in the gym for half an hour, just, encourage them to stay in there a wee bit longer. And, you play a little there, it's fine, it's grand. Or I get up maybe before I go to work and get on the bike. And sometimes we'll maybe do a Swift race together and train.
Who wins?
Who wins? Desi usually wins again. Like Desi doesn't really do that much training. So again, that's what I'm saying. Like people, someone said to me actually one day, Heather, you had kids and you were then at a triathlon. I went, no, I wasn't. I had the kids in 2013 and it was nearly 2015 really before I got into it. And I think people maybe look on Facebook or they look at what other people are doing and they think, I have to do like 20 hours of training. And I should be doing this. And I just am like, no, you don't. Everybody has different circumstances. We all have different childcare issues. We all have different jobs. And what you got to do is look at what time you've got. Make sure you're not doing any rubbish stuff and be prepared to do stuff on your own. Like a lot of my stuff, I have to do my own. And I don't really always like that. I try to get maybe one run session in, again, pre-COVID with someone. But I've always just, right, I've got to get this done. And, have a goal for yourself. Everybody has to have a different goal. And don't worry about what everybody else is doing. If they've done 3 sessions in one day, they might have done 3 sessions that are rubbish and junk miles. I'm probably very blunt when I talk like this, but, everybody's different and it's better to enjoy it, get the most out of it. And if you're enjoying something, then you're going to work harder at it. And I think by doing a lot of hours for some people, it just makes you tired and, you don't get the time with the kids that you want or you're grumpy and life's too short for that. I think it's just...
Well, I think you make a very valid point there that if you're not enjoying it, you're not going to get up the next morning early before you go to work to do your next training session. And you're definitely not going to get up the next morning. So there your consistency goes out the window. So if you enjoy it and then you are enjoying it and you're getting the benefit of it, then you will get up out of bed or early the next morning or go to bed early the next night to be able to get up. It's funny you mentioned being blunt. We had Gavin Noble on the show a couple of weeks ago. And, you talk about social media there and everybody watching everything and feeling like they should be doing something. And Gavin is just like, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Just do your own thing. Nobody cares. And it's a great mindset to have. Yeah,
like different things work for different people. I'm just like, people put a lot of things up on social media and, one, they mightn't be even doing them. And, that's the thing. You just don't know what people are doing. It really doesn't matter. We all have our strengths and our weaknesses. And as I say, if you just concentrate on what you're doing and have realistic goals, and I was going to say be kind to yourself, but you also have to be a bit tough with yourself and just say, get it done. Like we all have those sessions that we don't want to do. Like I try to do intervals on a Tuesday running, and that's the session I might maybe try to meet someone with, because I'd stand there and go, oh, I might warm up for another 10 minutes. And sometimes I haven't got that luxury because I've got to get the kids to Beavers. So that's kind of good for me in a way. I've got 45 minutes, let's go. And, that's when you've less time, I think you just get more specific and you don't waste any of your time. You do find other ways of getting stuff in. Like the Swift races, I have to say, I think are great. And all levels can take part. That's the other thing. You don't really just get on and compete at your own level. And you don't have to travel anywhere. You're done and dusted. And if even if it's not like a Triathlon Ireland race, like there's other things that you can do, and you can fit it around your own routine. And if you've kids, the kids see you. I just think it's a good way of getting good training done. Yeah.
And I think as well on a Zwift race, you'll never work as hard on your turbo as you will on the road when you're battling against people, because you don't have to think about traffic, dogs, people, anything. You'll just absolutely and utterly empty yourself.
And no one sees you in a sweat. It's absolutely, actually, Desi was on Zwift one day and kids came in and looked at him in absolute horror. There was this sweat dripping everywhere. Like the room was just, I had to open the windows as well. I was like no one has to see you like that, do they? It's
unless it goes up on social media. Hashtag
let's clear up the mess. You're not going to put that up on social media anyway. Take a selfie.
Hashtag sweaty selfies. You got to show the good with the bad, Heather, when you're on social. I want to come back and ask you about kind of the period of adjustment when the twins were born, because it's one thing to have one baby to look after, but suddenly it's two newborn babies together in an already busy household where the two of you have a very active lifestyle. So was it hard to adjust?
I didn't find, I suppose my adjustment really started when I was pregnant, because I think from about 12 weeks, I stopped actually cycling and I stopped running. I was just swimming. I was so sick. But the only time I didn't feel sick was when I was swimming and walking. And to me, I was just like, do you know what? It's only 8 months or 7 months and I'm just looking after them. That's it. And that was just a personal thing for me. It's what I felt comfortable doing. So when the twins came along, it was definitely hard. And that's why I say to people, I didn't just jump from having kids to a triathlon. I had to start back, jog, walk. That was what I started back doing. Just getting out of the house was a treat. It was, half an hour. I did a lot of walking. I'd say I went through 2 sets of wheels in the pram, just kind of walking everywhere. So it was feed the twins and, get out. And because I think with the twins, we had them in a really good, routine. My mother now used to give me a really hard time. You're not waking that baby up. I'm waking the baby up, I'm feeding the baby, and I'm putting the baby back down. It was like a regimented session, and it was great that way. So, that's why I say, someone said to me, you went straight to, I didn't. I had to start back slow. I had to build it up. I was only running. I tried to get out maybe 3 or 4 times. But, it was amazing how fit the swimming and the walking kept me. I swam 4 days a week while I was pregnant, and I tried to get out walking as much as I could. And it doesn't take you that long. If you keep that little bit up, it didn't really take that long to get the fitness back. And I concentrated on the running when I was back. And then I got going a bit with the turbo and things like that. And I think my first triathlon was Newry. And I hadn't really done any swimming. I hadn't really done much biking. But it just was a start. And the running kind of was just the easiest thing to do at that stage. So I think people need to be kind to themselves and not expect too much either. And it's amazing that just the different ways that you can keep fit. Or I say, I did so much walking with the kids, and as they get heavier, it's like weight training in itself. So, and it was just about having a good routine. And Desi and I you forget about the sleepless nights probably, and getting up at 5 a.m. and wondering when you're ever going to get a proper night's sleep. But it was an adjustment, but it was a good adjustment. I think that's what I'd say. We just got on with it. What else? I think anybody else with kids, would be sort of saying the same. You just have to get on with it. And it was good. We took them different places, and we think they remember it, but don't remember it.
And what about the mummy guilt that a lot of mums have when they go back to sport, whether it's team sport or triathlon, this thing of not wanting to be away from the babies, but actually needing to get away from them for their sanity and their own mental health.
Definitely, like that's the one thing I say to the kids, because they were so little, like they were very difficult feeders. It was hard, and I knew I needed my headspace, and Desi needed his headspace. We didn't have an awful lot of outside help, I suppose. You know, Desi's family were in Sligo, my parents weren't, my dad wasn't well at the time, so we just kind of had to manage on our own. And my children are nearly 8, and I sometimes Grace will say, "Mommy, are you going running again?" But like, we're out with them. I think that's just kids. The more I talk to other mums as well, you know, again, be kind to yourself. You need to get out, and you need your head aired. And I would run maybe the 2 miles home from work, and that's my headspace. That's kind of, I'm ready to switch off, and when I come home, I'm back to mummy and I'm back to doing homework. And yeah, I don't think you should feel bad about it at all. I think it's great for kids to actually see you doing exercise and to join in. And even the kids who do the Joe Wicks, actually, they really got into that, you know, over the summer. And, you know, they come out, as I say, they cycle and we run with them. But they have missed their sport as well. That's it's been hard on them too. But definitely mummy guilt and daddy guilt definitely exists. And yeah, you just got to be kind and to yourself. Yeah,
there was great excitement in the house today with the arrival of the Easter Bunny, but also because Oliver was out today and he got his clip-in pedals and was pedaling away mad.
Oliver's had his clip-on pedals now a while, and to be honest, Desi goes out with him because he terrifies me. He's mastered no hands. I'm sure he's winding up all the kids in the street because he races them and then puts his hands in the air. So anytime he does that, I'm like, hands on the handlebars, hands on the handlebars.
Is he a future Sean Kelly or Sam Bennett maybe?
We were actually out one day and he saw a man riding ahead, and Desi was out with him, and he's like, oh, so off he took. He wanted to catch the guy, so he overtook him, and then he got a bit tired. And then this guy passed him, and the guy had a red bike in the red kit. And he turns around to Desi, he goes, "Daddy, he's all matching." He was all like, everything was all matching. But like, he's seen Sam Bennett and he's watched the Tour de France and he wants a yellow bike. And yeah, that's why I say, like, I know what it's like in Holland from racing there, and I'd love that for my kids. I you know, to be in a safe environment. Like, he's doing 20 miles and it's scary on the roads, like, really. And you can't tell a child to go around a half-mile park 40 times. It's just, I find that quite hard, and I get sad as well. I just would love more facilities for them. And he does do a bit in the mountain bike and that sort of thing, but he's just not into it the way he does with his, you know, with the road bike and that sort of thing. So look, he likes it, and I'm not going to push my kids to do things. My parents never did that. Like, even when I was swimming, I might have only done 2 races and everybody else was doing 6 events. My mum would have given me the entry list and gone, right, tick what you want to do and I'll take you there. That's you know, and I think that's been kind of good. I was never pushed to do anything I didn't really want to do. And again, I suppose that's the enjoyment thing. And our twins are very different. Grace loves her running. She runs with Dermot McDermott. He's absolutely fantastic with kids. Oliver likes the cycling. So we'll keep taking them, you know, where they want to go. And keep doing that.
Well, that's the main thing, really, to actually just have them involved in sport or in an active lifestyle in some shape or form, and having 2 very strongly active and successful sports people as parents is
it's like it's about being healthy as well. Like, it's, you know, and seeing just people, you know, sort of eating healthily and doing their sport and just taking part. I think that's one of the main things people need to get through. And again, I suppose social media doesn't help sometimes with that as well. So as long as you're feeling good and you're fit and you're healthy, it's great to see people improve. Like, even we might do like club spins. It's like a race, not like a race, but like a race league, I suppose, on a Wednesday pre-COVID. And it's been great seeing people, more women even, getting involved and seeing them improve and moving up the groups and that sort of thing. So I think I'd say to people not to be afraid to ever try, because if you don't try, you're never going to know. And you might actually find you actually enjoy it, and, you know, that's the encouragement you need.
Well, this is it. And of course, there are barriers to return to sport for young or older mums. Even for girls, generally, there are barriers there for women to get involved in sport. But I suppose really looking at those that are mums that maybe have been great sports people, are very active pre-babies, and now the babies are toddlers, and then suddenly they're in first class in school and second class, and mum is still not back to her sport. What can we do to encourage those to come back to the sport that they once used to love?
I think people do have to forget about what they were like before, because you're a different person after you have kids. And I suppose maybe trying to find a group to run with. Like, I find that hard enough. I find maybe one person to run with maybe now, and that little bit is just, it's great. It's I suppose with COVID it is hard. Like, even the park runs, I think, were very good, because you actually were able to meet people and realize that everybody was doing this, and everybody of all levels was doing it, and that it was a very sociable thing to do without being too competitive. I just think people expect themselves to go back to where they were before, and it just doesn't always happen. And sometimes you'll go to a different sport. Like, you could end up, so I've gone through different phases of sport. I'm now sort of nearly going back to running now, because that's the time I have. And it's a difficult one, that one. I suppose it's a hard question. There are barriers, but just not to look on social media too much. I know it can be helpful, but just to really enjoy it and maybe just try different things is what I'd say. Don't just think, this is what I did beforehand, I'm going to do this now, and maybe try just something different. And also, I'm saying about the duathlons, like, give them a go. It's sometimes really hard to get the swimming pool when you have kids, and like the amount of time that takes is time you can be doing something else. So just don't be afraid to try something different.
I think that's a very valid thing to say, because you can still be a triathlete but do a multi-sport of a different kind. So maybe you were a great swimmer and a great runner, so maybe aquathons are the things for you. And now we have aqua bikes here in Ireland as well, so you could have been a great swimmer and a biker but not a great runner, so there are lots of things.
I remember actually when the kids were young, I did the aquathons. Nuri had a race series, and I'd never done them before. They are so hard, because your legs are like jelly when you come out of the bike. And again, that was something new for me, and I'd do that again. Like, that was, even if I actually wasn't doing much swimming, I just enjoyed them. It was good fun, and it was short and sweet, and it was done, and that was really hard. So that's actually a really valid point. Like, there's different disciplines out there. Just give it a go, or don't be afraid to just go and do a running race, or join in a cycling club race as well. Or if you're out, say, in a group of girls or guys in the bike, do your up and overs and do your training while you're out. It doesn't necessarily have to be a 3-hour spin. Get out for an hour and a half and do your 10-minute intervals just up and over, and at least you're getting a bit of social time as well. And
the social part of it is probably more important than the actual physical aspect of it. And I suppose we're lucky in the way that basically we have swim, bike and run within triathlon, and we can have any mix of stuff within that. So go join a running club instead, or a swimming club instead, while still maybe doing a bit of your tri stuff. So we're lucky that within our sport we have lots of options. If we were playing, say, GA or rugby or soccer pre-pregnancy, and then you expect to go back to that, well, that's probably a little bit more difficult. Whereas with triathlon, there's kind of a lot more opportunity. Speaking of returning to racing, there's going to be lots of people listening in who haven't raced for, the guts of 12 to 18 months. Races hopefully will open up sooner than later. Really hard to know how it's going to pan out. But as an athlete, what sort of tips would you give to people maybe who are chomping at the bit to get out and race?
I was saying, like, we did a 10-mile or 10K time trial. So every maybe 3 or 4 weeks, we try and do maybe a 5 or a 10K time trial, just to sort of, it's on the same course, it's on a same loop, it's like 2.5 miles. And, it's just a way of keeping focused and keeping your training going. I have a loop actually, it's sort of the 5K circuit here as well. I maybe just time how long it takes me to do one hard loop. So I warm up, do one loop, do a hard loop, and do another loop. It's I just think you need those little goals to keep yourself focused. Otherwise, you'll end up maybe going back and doing the jump miles or drifting back into that zone 2 all the time. Like, I've always been someone, even through the winter, when people are doing long miles, I kind of like to still get that midweek kicking on a bike or a run, or just to keep that out of breath feeling going. So it's not such a shock to the system. So I just think, doing those little time trials are a great way of having something to focus in and penciling them in. So it's like a race day, not just a thought in your head. It's actually on the paper. I have to do this, and I'm going to have to train for this, and then you're not going to back out of the sessions beforehand, or you're going to go rubbish in your time trial. So, and I say, like, mine didn't go great today. Now, I changed a few things during the week. I went back to doing a lot of running on grass and the legs were tired, but I still got a great effort in today, and take from it what I can and move on to the next one. So I'll probably do a 5K in now 3 or 4 weeks, and I think we need that. That's how people maybe fizzle out of the sport, or just it's such a big step back up to try and get yourself back to race fitness as well. You could even do that, I suppose. You could do some brick sessions and that sort of thing too, but just to have that focus.
And when you look back over your career to date, what would you say has been the highlight?
I suppose I said before that the cycling, my national cycling jerseys is something I'm really proud of. I don't like to feel like you're really boasting saying that, but like it's something I just worked hard. You do an awful lot of races and you come away with nothing, and that was extra special. And I suppose like triathlon wise, that the race in Derry, the national championships were something I didn't expect, I suppose. And I have to say, like the duathlons, you're asking me for one, but like each duathlon has been very different in so many ways. And last year it was in Sligo, and it was nice to win there. But Mondello was one of the ones that it was tough, and it was cold, it was wet, it was around a race circuit. My mum wasn't well at the time, and I think that was guts and heart got me through that race. And I'm proud of that race as well. And it's just really, really hard. It's one I'll always remember. I think that's kind of, I like the lost sheep too. Like I suppose I've had a couple of them. I can't remember now, but that was a different challenge in itself again. And I probably always, that it's my head gets me through a lot of races in that respect. So it's hard to pick just one, I have to say. But and the track as well, like competing on the track, and I remember in Manchester the atmosphere was just, it was class. It was just buzzing, and I think it was in the final. Like Lizzie Armstead won the final, but all I remember is the crowd. I'm actually thinking I was going to go into the crowd at one stage, but it's just the atmosphere and things like that. You remember the Commonwealth Games. It's definitely good memory. So I can't really pick one, I have to say. It's just think back over them, you think, that was quite good as well. Yeah. But Desi's I couldn't have done that without him either. Like he's been at the races and bikes there, get on the bike. I got a bit lazy when I met Desi, to be honest with you. I learned just to know how to do things on my bike, and no, it's just like having a bike mechanic on tap. So
it's always good. It's always good to have a Sherpa, though.
Yeah, people should actually take note of that. Don't do what I did and get lazy with your bike care. Just keep it all up. But that's probably some of the highlights. Yeah.
And was it a big adjustment going from road racing to track racing? I chatted with David O'Loughlin for Connacht Cycling on Friday night. We had a live show, but he had such a career on the road and then moved across to track. But was it a big adjustment?
I think it's a big adjustment in Ireland because you were away for maybe a week on a track and then you had to come home, and then you were away again and you had to get accustomed to the track. And I think that's just a massive disadvantage. Again, like I suppose things have evolved now, and there's the facilities in Mallorca or whatever, and but it definitely takes you a while to find your feet on the track, and I suppose a different type of training. But I think for me, I enjoyed the change from the road, and you're still keeping up the road and the stage races just for your fitness as well. But the track was just something different. It was a different type of buzz, and although you're racing kind of on your own at times, you still were away at the team, and that kind of team atmosphere really nice, you know. It was good to learn from like people like David and stuff. They had the experience. Like I hadn't a clue when I started. I didn't even know how to change the gears of my bike, and I have to say the guys there probably did that half the time for me. I hadn't a clue what I was doing. I didn't even know when they said put such and such a ring on your bike. I was like, what? You just have to learn how to get 2 bikes in a box as well. Like, what's going on here? I would have loved to have more time, but I just fell off the Commonwealths. I had to look at my career as well, and I could only keep it going maybe so long. A lot of people would say to me, oh, Heather, you'd have done so much better if you had been full-time and you hadn't been working. But I don't really necessarily agree with that. I think having a job was good for me. It kind of kept me, I think if I'd been full-time, I wouldn't have enjoyed it. I had a couple of years at the start and I just found I was taking it too seriously. I just wasn't enjoying it. It was good for me to have the racing and then, you know, have the job as well. So in some respects, yeah, I probably could have done better. But on the other hand, what's the point again in doing it if you don't like doing it? I don't really have any regrets that way at all.
And Heather, who do you think would have been your biggest influence over the years?
Cycling.
Generally, like
everything.
Yeah.
Do you know what? As I said, I've mentioned it before, and you know, when I started in triathlon, Ian Lyle he had a full-time job. It was the volunteers, I think, as well, like who just gave up their time and coached you and came out in the pouring rain to take you around a circuit. And the Maryland guys who pushed you home for 20k. You know, it's those sort of people. Or when I was in triathlon, Edith Kearney and so it was Caroline's sister. It was a lot of volunteer work, and I think you wanted to do well because you knew that they were giving up their time and that sort of thing. So, and I suppose my parents too. You know, people that drive you to swimming lessons and all that kind of thing and give up their time. You want to do well for them, and I think there's a lot to be said for the people like the volunteers and that sort of thing. Like the guys in Maryland they've always been great crack, like actually. And we were out in a spin, and I didn't know I was having twins at that stage. And Desi probably remember this. And one of them said, I was just going really bad. I said, would you just go on and leave me? Fine. I know on the way home. No, we're really enjoying this, Heather. Like what do you have to do to go so bad? And I was just ready for flipping at that stage. And then I suppose 2 weeks later I found out I was having twins, and I've never let them live them down. But you know, there's people like Phil Holland and all in Maryland they're there for ages, and I just have a lot of respect for them. You know, they've raced themselves at a high level, they've held down jobs, and they're still taking part today. So, and cycling was the same. There's like a lot of volunteers again that came away on trips with you and gave up their time, and just people like Brian Taff and stuff. I remember him being away with us. You know, a bunch of women he was away with as well. Like, God love him. Had to put up with us. So it just, yeah, you wanted to do well for them. So yeah, Tommy Evans was another one. I don't think I would have got into cycling as much if he hadn't been at the Commonwealth that day. So it's about meeting people as well at the right time, isn't it? I've been very fortunate that way. I just kind of bumped into people and kind of got, okay, I'll give it a go, and off we go, you know.
And talk to me about goals for 2021 and beyond when we get back to racing. What's on the cards?
Yeah, I say, like, I wouldn't rule out the Joathlons. I really want to try and get my running going. I've had injury again last year, and it's one thing I've always been a bit plagued with is injury. And as a consequence, I never really run more than 3 times a week. I find that's just my balance. So I suppose getting the running going, I really would love to get the 10k times down, the halves, and to do a marathon. Like, I actually do want to do a marathon. It's one thing I haven't got doing yet. But, you know, I'm still cycling, I'm still putting in good sessions, and I would like to give the Joathlons a go if things got up and running again. And again, like, it works, it doesn't. Like, I just enjoy them, especially the shorter ones too, the short, sharp ones at Naas. And as I say, we used to do the ones over at Dundalk. And yeah, we'll see what happens. It's hard to know when things are going to lift or when things are going to open up, but yeah, I wouldn't rule anything out really,
Do you think, will you go long to Ironman?
I don't think so. It's one thing I've never really thought about. The half was kind of just my cutoff point. I think for the longer distance, I'm not prepared to sacrifice the hours with the kids at the age they are. I enjoy it. I love being with the kids, and never say never. Like, again, when they get older and say they maybe don't want to talk to me, I might change my mind. I might want to go out in a 6-hour cycle. So, but at the moment, it's just not something I want to do. I would love to do a marathon, and I think that's kind of an achievable goal if I can get the running up a bit. Yeah, we'll just see what happens. But it'd be good to just get a bit of racing back, I think, or get a bit of club racing back as well. We race on a Wednesday night, maybe every other week, and I actually really miss it. It's just it's kind of a bit of a date night for Desi and I, actually. It's like once a month we might get out and do a club race together. It's bad when things are that like that, isn't it? You go on a date night to a cycle race and get some chips on the way home or something.
Oh, sounds great. I hope you get a few more date nights before the end of this year.
Doesn't it? I need to go, this girl needs to get a life,
Not at all. We had chips on the beach last night, a sunset dip and chips on the beach. It's the new going out.
We actually bought a flask and we started doing picnics, and the kids thought this was absolutely fantastic, going for a picnic. And that's how bad things have got, isn't it, really? It's we'll go on a cycle and we'll bring a flask on our back and stop for a cup of tea. So
Well, for the final bit of the 400k today, my mum at about 10 o'clock this morning, we pulled over for a banana or whatever, and I was like, girls, I think I'm going to need a sandwich at 11. We'll have 50k done. I think I'm going to be hungry. I'm never going to get through the rest of the 125k. So I texted mum and I said, any chance you'd like make a sandwich for us and bring it down to Salt Hill? So she had no food in the house for sandwiches. She had food for the rashers and sausages and eggs for like a nice healthy fry today for themselves. But in fairness to her, she went down to the shop and she arrived down with the cuisine de France rolls, ham, cheese, tomatoes, the plastic plate, the picnic blanket, the knife and the fork, and the basket. She made rolls for the few of us that were out, and geez, we love it.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's the little things now that are just like really good. I'd have had to add a slice of cake in there, I have to say.
Now I did have a bit of cake afterwards, but Easter eggs today.
Yeah, and I looked at the sandwich and gone, it's not quite cutting it, So as I say, the other day we were out for a spin, I was like, I just want to sit in a coffee shop and have a bit of cake. It's just, I'm not usually that sort of person, but like it got to that stage, thought I can't even go into a coffee shop now. So I think we'll really enjoy just the simple things when
and there's a lot of the simple things happening as well. Like we had an ice cream 99 cone. One of the girls promised it to me when we were finished, and she said, but you have to be like literally within 2k from home. You're not getting back on the bike with the long spin to do. So I swear to God, we were sitting on the side of the road in Salt Hill licking our 99s. She said, did you ever think you'd see the day you'd be sitting outside the creamery having a 99?
I know, that's insane. Like things have just got, in some ways things have changed for good, for good as well. Like I think you do really enjoy just the simple things, and like for the kids, it's like getting out for a picnic and just a hike and that sort of thing. So those things will stay, but we'll all be just racing to a coffee shop to sit our bums in a seat for a while and drink endless coffee all day, I think.
Drink coffee out of a real cup. Heather Foley, thank you so much for joining me. I really enjoyed it. And I really hope you get some fun date nights with Desi and you beat him so that he has to buy you the chip. And good luck with everything for the rest of the season when we do get back racing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget you can get in touch with any feedback or guest suggestions by emailing me on trytalkingsport@gmail.com. I'd love to connect with you on social media. You can find me across all the social pages: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn and Instagram. Pop by, say hi, let me know what you think of the show. And if you're new to Try Talking Sport, please do check out some of our previous episodes. Our guests are amazing. Don't forget to hit the follow button for the show, and if you have 2 minutes to spare, a review on Apple Podcasts would be awesome. Until next time, stay safe, keep smiling, and remember to look for fun and adventure in every day.